recording this video in PEI. So a bunch of us, we all finally finished our grad project. So finished my last essay on Friday. So I've got like a little bit off before I have to start doing like my comps list. But almost everybody from our graduate cohort, a few people weren't able to come, but a bunch of us decided to come out. We got an Airbnb together, so we're spending a couple of days in PEI. I've never been before. There's a few people on the trip who are like a lot more familiar with the island, but there's a lot of newbies as well. So yesterday we just got in the afternoon, like had lunch in Charlottetown, kind of explored the downtown a little bit. Lots of stuff isn't open, but we went to a couple of really cute used bookstores and got like Cow's ice cream and everything. And then we just kind of came back. The Airbnb is really nice. It has a hot tub, so went in the hot tub, played some games, just kind of had a night in tonight. But today I think we're gonna go to Cavendish and have like a beach day, check out the town there and everything, so very excited. But I think we're just about to head out to the beach and everything, so that's where we'll be. Back in the bedroom many hours later, but we had a great day. Definitely PEI is better in the summer because everything is currently closed. And I was feeling a little underwhelmed when we were driving around this morning, not gonna lie, because it was basically all just like farmland and like hills. So I'm like, this just looks like Saskatchewan but hillier and smaller fields and a bit redder. But then we got to the beach and I was like, all right, because I've never been to like a long beach like that, so it was really beautiful. We had a great afternoon like sitting out and reading, and like one of the girls, Summer's here all the time, so she's like, yeah, in the summer it's like very colorful, like lots of flowers, really pretty, so I can definitely see that. And I mean, like, we still had fun coming here a bit earlier, but yeah, just to know that like you'll have to do a bit more driving because things are closed. But we've gone to like lots of great restaurants, had really good ice cream, so been a very fun trip. But we're all very sleepy after getting lots of sun today, so I think we're just gonna have a little cider and a little hot tub and that'll be the night. Hello everybody, so as you can see, I'm back in Halifax now. Yeah, we spent a couple days in PEI. We spent like 2 nights, so it wound up being 1 full day. I feel like the clips from that are gonna feel a little weird just because I wasn't doing too much like talking to the camera because we had like a short amount of time there and there's so many of us that I didn't want to be like blah blah blah. But yeah, it was a very good trip. I would definitely recommend going further into tourist season actually. I didn't know how like just how much the island was like completely shut down outside of the summer. So basically, like, unless you're staying in Charlottetown, and then I think the other kind of like bigger town is Summerside. So those places like are pretty much all open, but then the island does have little kind of like smaller villages or like little pockets, which are basically everything's closed except for during the tourist season. But that's basically just like little restaurants and stuff, because the main thing to do in PEI is like the beaches and everything. So the only thing was that we had to drive a bit farther for like food and stuff like that. But all the restaurants that were open that we did go to were really good. I would like to see it in the summer because I think I'd said like apparently the island's really colorful, like lots of flowers. Obviously all those little like seafood places would be open that I'm sure are really good. And then hot beach is obviously a very different experience than cold beach. We were all like, we spent the afternoon on one of the beaches and we're all like bundled up in our winter coats. It was kind of funny, but it was still like really nice, lots of sun, so that was fun. And we did stop in Charlottetown first. We spent like a couple hours there before heading to our Airbnb, which is where we went into those couple of bookstores. I think I got some clips of one because it was really cute. They had like new, used, and some other like types of books. So I got the 2 first books in Robin Hobb's different series. So I have The Assassin's Apprentice, which is the first book in the Farseer trilogy. And then I have book 1 in the Live Ship Trader series, Ship of Magic. I've been wanting to get into Robin Hobb more because I think of her as like the woman George R.R. Martin. I have no idea if that's like actually accurate to what her books are like, but like very high fantasy kinds of situations. Both series are supposed to be really good. I'm actually not sure which is more popular because I do definitely see like both a lot, but I'm definitely excited to get into these. So I feel like that was a good find. And then while we were there, I started reading Broken Rival. So this is the arc that I'd gotten. And I'm actually not sure how much I'm allowed to share about the synopsis yet because I don't believe that Tessa Bailey has posted anything super specific about what the book is about other than that it's a dystopian kind of time travel situation. But I'm not like crazy far into it, but I did read a good chunk while we were gone and I love it so far. Tessa Bailey has only published like contemporary romances, so I wasn't totally sure what to expect because obviously like dystopian is a very different genre and requires a lot more, or at least like a different kind of world building. So I wasn't totally sure what to expect with that with Tessa Bailey's voice, but so far I really like it. Like I definitely am, like it's not like crazy intense world building, but I think that what she's doing is like really unique and really fun, and it feels kind of both very like nostalgic and also like something new. Like it does feel kind of like a grown-up version of a lot of the dystopian books that I was reading when I was younger, other than, I mean, obviously like The Hunger Games is a very grown-up story, that kind of thing, and this is, I would say, like less serious than that, but it does have, I mean, not that it's unserious, like the things that it's talking about I think are really interesting because there is a kind of like environmentalist angle to it that I'm excited to learn more about because I feel like we've kind of just gotten hints of it so far, like we don't have the full story yet, so I'm very excited to see where it goes with that. The only thing so far that I was surprised by was how young the characters are because I was expecting them to be like mid-20s, but the characters, the main girl is actually like 18, like she's just finished high school, and I feel like I would have preferred if they were older. Like I feel like we could have done the same thing and have her like kind of just to be finishing college, something like that, but I don't think that it's like bad that they're younger. I was just expecting them to be a little bit older, and I think I maybe would have vibed with it more, but I also get what they were doing, like with the type of story and the way the story is set up. I think it makes a lot of sense that she's a teenager and that it's this kind of like edge of high school thing with the way that the story works. So I don't think that it's like YA-ish to me or anything, but then that does make me curious what the angle is going to be with the romance, because there is, of course, a romance. It's Tessa Bailey, and she's like definitely known for like, you know, open door stuff. So I'm curious if it's similar to her contemporary romances or not, or if she's going to kind of change the way that she writes, that kind of thing, given the ages of the character and also the nature of the story. Like there's a lot more going on in this book than just a romance. Like, so the romance isn't really like the core plot, at least not at this point. So yeah, I'm really curious where it goes with that. And that was the part that I did find surprising. And I don't think it's necessarily a con. It was just like not what I was expecting. So I kind of like went in thinking that the characters were going to be older, that it was going to be like a more mature story. So then when I say that like I would prefer if they were a bit older, I actually don't know if I do, because that wouldn't necessarily like make sense for the kind of story that it is. So I'm sort of in two minds about it so far. But yeah, I am really, really enjoying it. I think it's really fun and a really interesting concept. But yeah, I've been home for like a full day now at this point. I've gotten all my marks back for my final projects. I was really excited because I wound up getting an A+ on my George Eliot paper, which was really cool. I did have a lot of fun with that paper, especially because it was like not an angle that I'm like unfamiliar from taking, but I was kind of like, I feel that this could go one of two ways, because I wasn't taking like a super hard stance. I was essentially arguing that like George Eliot in Daniel Deronda, George Eliot is still kind of engaging with these kind of like conservative views about womanhood and motherhood that she leverages in other novels, and that there is still this kind of idea of wanting to like punish or think that women who kind of aren't natural mothers or are rejecting maternity are somehow like wrong or flawed. But something that's different in this book is that she's also more explicitly acknowledging or also saying that like there should be other options for this women, and that this is like ultimately a broader failing that these women like maybe exist, and also that there aren't other avenues for them to explore, and maybe they would actually have been like good mothers if they didn't have to make these different kinds of choices. So yeah, since I wasn't taking like a super hard, this is exactly what she's doing, this is why it's different, this is why it's the same, I wasn't totally sure, but I think it wound up working, and obviously I got a good grade on it, so it must have. And then my Orlando essay definitely wasn't as strong. I think it was just, I still had like a fine grade on it. I think I wound up with like an 82, or maybe it was an 83. No, I think it was an 82, which isn't like amazing, but I wasn't upset with it. And I feel like she gave like very, very thorough feedback, and I think it made sense. I did really struggle with the structure of that essay, because I was talking about sort of the way that nature is represented in the Orlando film by Sally Potter, and how it kind of develops, and also like how it's different in the book, and how like the use of nature also represents this kind of like formation of a poetic identity. But since I was talking about different things, I kind of started by moving through the seasonal cycles and what they were doing. How did I start it off? Because I was kind of talking about how the seasons were used to narratively move the film along, because in the book I feel like we kind of cycle through the seasons multiple times, or kind of in different moments, whereas in the film it kind of seems like you're moving through almost 1 year, even though it's much longer, but we like move through one of each season. So I was kind of talking about that as like a framing device, and a way to kind of like move along the plot. And then I went through almost like back again to talk through the seasonal cycles and what they were like reflected in the scenes, just because I wasn't totally sure how to structure that, because I didn't want to be constantly flipping back and forth between those ideas. But then the professor had like left some comments about like other things that might have worked a little bit better for that I think were cool ideas. Because the idea with the seminar papers in your PhD or with the seminar classes is that, and I mean even in your master's too, the idea is that you'll do these papers and then you'll be able to potentially like take the assignments, and then you'll have like about 6 papers that you can potentially submit to be published, or to like fix up and submit, which I think maybe sometimes works more in theory than it does in practice. Because just for me, I'm like, is it worth investing all the time into like brushing up and fixing this Virginia Woolf paper, or is it better to just take that time and write something new, and something that's like more true and or is more in line with like my research interests and what I want to do? Because the idea is like to build up, you know, a professional portfolio and a professional identity. And so me wanting to focus on like medievalism and fantasy and the fantasy genre, does it make sense to like spend the time trying to submit a paper on Virginia Woolf? I don't know if it totally does, or if I'm better off like taking the time that I'd invest into that into writing something new about like a medieval text or a fantasy text or something like that. That's just kind of how I've been thinking about it right now. Yeah, I'm not totally sure, because then obviously like once you're on the job market, you won't have like a massive amount of papers published, but hopefully they like give a sense of the kind of researcher that you are, the kind of research that you want to do. So I don't know if it's better to just like have things published versus like having things that are aligned with what you say you are specialized in or what you want to focus on in the future. I don't know, those are just my ruminations. But yeah, now that I'm back from coursework, I'm kind of just here in Halifax. So the next thing that I'm working towards is a conference that I'm presenting at. It's going to be like my first real full-on kind of conference. I've presented at like semi-similar things before, but they were just on like a bit of a smaller scale, or they were just like a bit different. So I'm going to be presenting at the Canadian Society of Medievalists conference this in May. And I'm presenting on a paper that I wrote about Maria Devana Headley's Beowulf translation. So the paper as it is just too long, and then I obviously want to like go back and revise things. So that's what I'm going to be working on in the coming weeks is, you know, condensing that and also like making changes that I want to make. But for now, I'm still going to take like a few days off because I'm tired after the ending of my coursework. But today I think that it's a bit like it's early afternoon now, and I'm thinking that I might head down to potentially like the Glitter Bean, head to a cafe and read some more of this, like do some more fun reading. So yeah, that's kind of my plan for the afternoon. Okay, so once I really tore into this, I could not stop and I finished it. So it's 6:30 now. It's a fast read when you're incredibly invested. I was so stressed. I really, really loved this. To compare to the Hunger Games again, because that's like the dystopian that's kind of forefront of my mind. It's not as like violent or as like targeted as that. Like it's a different kind of dystopian, but she's also not shying away from some like political social critiques. And I don't want to say too much about it. I don't really want to get into it because like I said, I'm not sure how much I'm allowed to share, so I'm going to be very like cryptic and vague. But I really like this, and I think coming from like rom-com genre, I'm really impressed like with how things like that were handled, because like that is what the kind of the heart of the dystopian genre is. It's about like critiquing, you know, current social systems, which I think like things like Divergent are maybe kind of trying to do, but do very like clumsily and very kind of generally. And I think that this was like a lot. Tessa Bailey has obviously been writing for a very long time, but writing in a very different genre. So I didn't really know what to expect from a dystopian for her, if this was just gonna be like a bit more fun, more lighthearted. And it's definitely not. Like this is dealing with a lot of kind of like serious themes. Like she didn't shy away from tackling something difficult. It's definitely like faster paced. It's still like romance heavy. And with that, I do still kind of think that the characters could have been older and the story still would have worked. I think that because at the beginning, the tone does feel like very YA, and then it does abruptly shift, which I think in some ways works, but kind of for the romance development, I would have liked if they were both a bit older. So I'm kind of in two minds about that. Like on the one hand, it works, but I don't think that it like needed to be that, given the nature of the romance for it. So yeah, but I loved this. I feel like I need to be sedated. Yeah, really wasn't sure what to expect going in, but I would love if Tessa Bailey wrote more like dystopian novels or like played around in some other genres again, because I feel like this was really successful. I really, really enjoyed it. So tonight, me and most of the cohort, there's a few people that have left already for the summer, but I think most people are going to be there. But we're all going out for dinner tonight to a restaurant I haven't been to before. It's called La Piazza Ristorante. It's an Italian place, actually pretty close to me. I looked up the menu today, it looks good. But we're going out because there was two people who had birthdays. They're about to have a birthday, like their birthdays were about a week apart. So we're all going out to eat together, and so I decided to make them cookies. I'm not sure yet. I haven't decided if I want to do like, just make the two like birthday people a little pack for themselves, or if I just want to like bring them and be like, brought cookies for everyone. I know one of the girls said today that she had an ice cream cake, so I'm thinking I might just like put together a little packet. I'll see how many cookies I get, and then I'll just like give them each some. This recipe was for like turtle cookies because it's supposed to be, they're supposed to have a caramel drizzle, but I didn't feel like making a caramel sauce and I didn't buy a caramel sauce. So I think I'm just gonna do like a peanut butter drizzle on top and they'll be like a Reese's Pieces cookie kind of thing with pecans. So we'll see how it turns out. Okay, so that recipe actually made a lot of cookies. So I made them each a pack of 6. I didn't have anything nice to wrap them in, so this happened. But I had a couple other ones, so I tried one to like make sure that they were good, and they do taste really good. I did, like I said, like the peanut butter drizzle on top instead of a caramel one, and I think it was really good. So yeah, I'm gonna take this to them, and then I figured that they can either like, if they wanted to give them to other people, then they can, or if they just want to take them home and eat them themselves, then that's also an option instead of just like bringing a bunch of cookies, especially when someone got an ice cream cake. But yeah, then this is what I'm wearing because it's actually like rainy and kind of gross out today, but I'm just refusing to dress like it's winter anymore, so that's what's happening. Guys, it's Saturday afternoon. We've had an abrupt shift in weather. It's very nice out today, like 15, 16 degrees, I think. So I'm just gonna go out in this. I'm not changing or adding a coat. I don't care. But yeah, dinner last night was really nice. We went to, I think it's called La Piazza Ristorante. It's very Italian. But the food was really good. I had like a lobster ravioli, which was nice. Couldn't really taste the lobster in it, but it was good. And then we just went back to one of the girls' houses and had a few drinks and some ice cream cake. So that was really fun. And it was nice to like see everybody again. For some reason it felt like I hadn't seen anybody in ages, even though it had been like a couple of days. So that was really cool to catch up. But yeah, today I don't really have any plans. It's Saturday today. I think I'm just gonna go for a wander since it's so nice outside. I'd like to get out. I might go to the Vintage Mansion and just kind of browse through. I'm not like actually looking for anything. And I might go walk through Bookmark too. I want to finish at least Blood on Her Tongue and maybe Paladin's Grace before I buy any other books, because I do have like a few that I need to read that I haven't read yet. However, I also really want to read Yesteryear. That's the book that is new, I think, and I'm pretty sure Anne Hathaway, I don't know if it's just a rumor or if it's for sure, like it's gonna be a movie and Anne Hathaway is gonna star in it, but it's about like a trad wife influencer who gets sent back in time to like, I think the 1600s or the 1700s, I'm not sure. She gets sent way back where she actually has to like live the lifestyle that she's been promoting online. And I've only seen one negative review so far. Everything else has been really, really hyping it up. So I do really want to read that because it's an interesting premise. And then there's another book that someone told me about. It's called Salt Something. That also sounds really good that I would like to read, but I don't think I'm going to get that one at least until I read a couple more of the fantasy books for sure that I have to read. And then I do have a couple rom-coms on my shelf that I would like to get to. So yeah, I'm going to take Blood on Her Tongue with me because if it is as nice as I think it is, I might sit and read in the public gardens for a little while. So yeah, I'm just gonna head out. Also, ignore the stuff on my table and my pants that I have drying. But I got this bouquet at Noggins the other day, which has been making me very happy for the past like 24 hours since I've had it. I think this vase is a bit too big for the size of the bouquet, but it is really cute. I love the tulips. Yeah, so I don't know. I just have that. So I just walked in the door from my afternoon out and it is so nice out there. I was comfortable in my cardigan most of the time. While I was at the public gardens, I did start to get a little warm. And on my walk home, I was like, no, it's just straight up hot. So I was walking back in this and was perfectly comfortable, which was cool because I got this dress at Winners and I love her. And it did just feel very Canadian. It was like the second that it's above 10 degrees, everyone was out in shorts and tank tops. And I saw so many people like walking around eating ice cream. Yeah, I didn't read too much of this. I read a couple of chapters, but I do really, really like it so far. I love Johanna Van Veen's other book, My Darling Dreadful Thing. And this is like, I think it's a bit more vampiric probably. But within the first couple of chapters, we've got a bog body already, so you know we're off to a good start. So I love that. The last few times I've gone to the public garden, I've gravitated towards sitting by the pond. And today I was reading and then I look up and there's this seagull like eating what looks like a goldfish. So then I Googled it and that's how I learned that there are goldfish in the pond at the public garden, so. That's a fun fact, which is interesting to me that they would even have them because it's like a pretty big pond but the water's really murky, so like I don't think you'd be able to see them really unless you're right up on them, I guess. So really the only time you get to see the goldfish is when a bird is eating it, but away she goes. I'd also gone to the vintage mansion first and I was just kind of gonna like mosey around, just famous last words. But I feel like whenever I go to like a thrift store or a place like that, the thing that I like most gravitate towards or the things that I want to find are like teacups or like jewelry. And the Vintage Mansion has both of those things, and less jewelry than you might think actually. But yeah, haven't found anything quite like that yet. But I did find this, which just really made me laugh, so I couldn't stay away. I hadn't actually tried it on yet, but it's like a beach scene sweater. Oh, my clip's coming out. I think it's just funny. And it's got this car with like sequins on it, and the pattern does go all the way around. It's way too hot for it right now, but I just thought that it was really cute and it made me smile. Yeah, got a car, there's some people down here on the beach. I think I can't tell from upside down if that's a sand castle or what at the bottom, but the car is like sequined. So yeah, that just made me smile. So I was like, I can't leave you behind. And yeah, then I was just reading at the gardens. I left when I started to get a little bit of a headache, so I think I just needed some water probably. But yeah, I've come home now. It's later in the afternoon. I'd like to watch a movie tonight, but I'm not sure what. I watched Apex on Netflix. I can't remember if I've talked about that already. If I have, I'll just cut this out. And I thought it was fine. Like Charlize Theron and Taron Egerton are both in it, and they're both really good, and they look amazing, and I think they did most, if not all, of their own stunts, which is cool. So I think the action sequences were cool. It was all filmed in, sorry, my camera died, so I had to charge it for a minute. I think I was just talking about Apex, and it was fine. I think that, the shots of, I think it was New South Wales, were cool, and that the action sequences were cool, but overall I feel like it didn't really have much of a storyline, or that they kind of tried to in the last half, but it was just kind of slapped together, not really developed super well. I don't know, it felt like free solo propaganda. And I'm not falling for it. It was, yeah, I don't know, it was okay. I think that it's my least favorite of all of the what if we were hunting people movies that I've seen, Ready or Not, and then I think the other one is just called The Hunt. Both of those are better and more fun. Perhaps an odd thing to say about that kind of storyline, but this one was interesting in comparison to those, because this was more of a 1v1 kind of thing, which I think could have been really cool. And I think the some of the ideas at the end that get introduced would have been fun, but they should have done it sooner or done more with it. Yeah, I don't know, especially because then it makes a lot of the decisions that Charlize Theron's character made no sense, especially the last 30 minutes. Why are you climbing, spoilers, but why are you've already broken his leg, he's gonna die. Why are you climbing with him halfway up the mountain to then kill him? Just leave him. You've already won, what was the point? I was oh, is she gonna secretly save him? What's going on here? And then the plan was literally just to kill him there. So I don't really that was weird. It didn't make any sense. So that was fine. I've also been watching Euphoria, or I've been like hate watching Euphoria. I don't know if I've talked about this at all either. It's making me so angry. I feel that Euphoria has never been a good show. Like, it's always been kind of a soap opera, but it just happens to have like a lot of really good actors, especially like season 1, season 2. I think everyone's really good. I think Sydney Sweeney is actually really good in the first couple of seasons. Cause Sydney Sweeney is I think that she's either like pretty like good, like really good, or like one of the worst actresses on screen. Like in something like, apparently she's really good in that horror movie she did in Immaculate. I think in the first couple seasons of Euphoria, she's really good. And I feel like the writing also is more invested in her character, and she's not the focal point. But now for some reason, Cassie and Sydney Sweeney's character has become like the focal point of Euphoria, it feels like, in season 3. I get that she had a big plot line in season 2 as well, so maybe it was always kind of building to that, but it seems like what they're doing with Cassie feels just very much based on like the Sydney Sweeney of it all and on her persona, and it's very weird. Like, I can't tell if Sam Levinson like loves her, or if this is just like a weird humiliation, like antagonism of her. It's very odd. And I actually think like in this last episode, like Sydney Sweeney is doing funny things. Like there's that one scene where she's like, and how's that my problem? And she's pulling crazy faces. Like, she's kind of doing some of the comedy stuff well. It's just that what they've done with her character is crazy. Cause like in the early seasons, like Cassie was kind of naive and she wasn't like super smart and super manipulative and calculating, but she wasn't dumb. And in this season, she's just kind of straight dumb, which is odd. Like, the whole thing was that it felt like the show kind of understood or was trying to explore this idea of like her being objectified, and then also feeling like that's the only way that she can get affection or attention or something. So in some way she leans into it, but then that also feeling kind of like degrading and demoralizing to her. So it's this like double-edged sword where she's like seeking it out, but then it harms her. Whereas in this, it doesn't feel like it's aware of that. It just feels like, let's just keep objectifying her, and she's also really into it. Like, I think a lot of people are like not super happy with the fact that Cassie started doing OF, because they're like, oh, this is Sam Levinson being a perv, which like it is. But I think that it also does kind of make sense for her character, even from early seasons, that would be kind of her trajectory, because it, like, time and again, her character is just like slapped down and is told that like this is the only thing that you're good for. So I think it makes sense that she would do OF. It's just that the way that they're approaching it, that doesn't make sense for her character. This idea of it, like, for her not feeling any type of way about it, unless they're gonna maybe do something with it later. I don't know, it's very weird. I think what they're doing with Chloe Cherry is absolutely disgusting. I think she's one of the most interesting people on that show. Like, watching her interviews, I think she's a really interesting person. Like, she actually got asked in an interview about OnlyFans, and she was talking about how like she thinks that we're gonna look back on it as a very like weird phenomenon of the 2020s, and like that the only reason OF is as big as it is because of, you know, like economic uncertainty, but that she also finds this like rhetoric of it being empowering or about power very odd, and that like she does not consider that to be true, which is really interesting coming from her, like, who is in the adult industry, or was. But I think that the show is really like, Chloe Cherry's our resident porn star, and we're gonna like treat her like a porn star. Like, what they do with her character, I think, is really gross. Like, what they have her doing with like the golf ball drug things in comparison, like Zendaya, it was rough too, but like with Chloe Cherry, it was worse. And then the fact that they had that one like stupid long sex scene with her, but it's Chloe Cherry, so it's fine. Like, I just find that really, really gross. I was texting with my sister about it, and she said that it just kind of feels like borderline fetish content at this point in this season, and I agree. Like, it's dumb, and it's kind of nasty. Like, why in this last episode, like, Cassie is crying because Nate just had the crap beat out of him by the people he owes money to. She's like sobbing in her wedding dress, her nose is bleeding, but for some reason the camera pans out so we can get a shot up her skirt so that we can see she's wearing underwear with a heart-shaped cutout. Why is that necessary? I don't know, I'm just really not a fan. I think that like Euphoria in season 1 and season 2 had moments of good writing amidst a lot of like just kind of dumb drama, but that the actors all kind of made it, and the fact that it has kind of like a cool aesthetic in the early seasons. But I think Euphoria, like in general, has always been kind of gross, and I think that the early seasons get credit for being smarter than they are because of the like more interesting aesthetics and because of the like good acting. But then this season, I feel like it doesn't have those things to hide behind because a lot of the good actors are like clearly do not really want to be there, and the writing's gotten a lot worse. And it also doesn't look the same now. Obviously Labyrinth isn't in it and you can really tell the difference with the music. And then also like even the way that it's shot, like the lighting, I don't know, it just is, it's very different and not in a good way. And I don't like it, but I'm going to keep watching it because it makes me angry. So I will be watching that tomorrow. But that's really it for me today. I've been really enjoying my time being finished with finals. This next week I will be starting to, you know, work on stuff again, but I have been enjoying my relative freedom. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.